The water around scientist Velros turned dark as another tremor shook the research station. Through the transparent walls of his laboratory, he could see the distant glow of his world's sun, pulsing with angry red light. It was dying and taking his entire civilization with it. Velros pressed his webbed hands against the communication console. His bioluminescent markings flickered with stress as he reviewed the calculations again. The numbers did not change. They never changed, no matter how many times he checked. The Velkari had 6 months, maybe 7 if they were lucky. After that, their ocean world would boil away into space. "The beacon is ready," his assistant Mara said, swimming up beside him. Her voice carried the clicking harmonics of their language, translated into electrical signals by their equipment. "We can send the distress call whenever you authorize it." Velros looked at the star chart floating in the holographic display. A bright marker showed the location of the nearest Galactic Council outpost, 140 light-years away. The Council had been silent neighbors for as long as Velkari records existed. They knew the Council was there, watching, but had never been invited to join. The Velkari were too primitive, apparently, not advanced enough. Now they needed those advanced neighbors desperately. "Send it," Velros said. "Maximum power. Include all our data about the sun's collapse. They need to understand we do not have much time." Mara's fingers danced across the controls. The beacon required enormous energy to punch through space fast enough to matter. It would drain their research station's reserves. But that would not matter soon anyway. Nothing would matter if help did not come. The console hummed as the message compressed into a tight beam transmission. Decades of Velkari scientific knowledge, desperate pleas for evacuation, and precise coordinates blasted out into the void. "Signal away," Mara confirmed. Then she paused, her markings shifting to a pattern that indicated confusion. "Wait. Something is wrong." "What?" Velros swam closer, his heart racing. "The navigation system. There was a cascade failure in the directional array. The signal—" She pulled up the trajectory data, and her markings went pale with shock. "It went the wrong way. Velros, the beacon did not go toward the Council outpost." Velros felt like the water around him had turned to ice. "Where did it go?" "Sector 7 Gamma," Mara whispered. "The empty zone." "There is nothing out there. Just a few yellow stars the Council marked as low priority for exploration." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Their one chance to call for help had been thrown into the cosmic equivalent of a desert. The beacon would travel through empty space until its power finally died, unheard and unanswered. "Can we send another?" Velros asked, already knowing the answer. "Not with enough power to reach the Council in time. That was everything we had." Velros looked out at the dying sun. Around him, his world continued its normal rhythm, unaware that their last hope had just vanished into the void. Billions of Velkari, swimming through their great ocean cities, living their lives, all of them doomed because of a navigation error. "We should tell someone," Mara said quietly. "No," Velros said. "Not yet. Let me think. There must be something we can do." But in his heart, he knew the truth. They were out of time and out of options. 300 light-years away, the signal reached Earth. Lieutenant James Park was drinking his 3rd coffee of the night shift when the alert sounded. He sat up straighter in his chair at the Deep Space Monitoring Station in New Mexico, nearly spilling his drink on the console. "What the hell?" he muttered, pulling up the data stream. The massive radio telescopes had been upgraded 6 months ago as part of humanity's new push into faster-than-light exploration. The equipment could now detect signals humans could have never heard before. This was definitely something they had never heard before. The signal was compressed, powerful, and clearly artificial. It was also not human. Park's hands shook slightly as he began the analysis protocol. This was it. First contact, the moment humanity had wondered about for centuries. Except this was not a greeting. As the computer began translating the mathematical language embedded in the signal, Park felt his excitement turn to ice. It was a distress call. "Boss!" he yelled toward the supervisor's office. "You need to see this right now!" Within an hour, the small monitoring station was flooded with officials. Within 6 hours, the signal was on the desk of every major government on Earth. Within 12 hours, Commander Sarah Chen was being briefed in the hastily called emergency session at the United Earth Space Command. "Let me make sure I understand," Chen said, looking at the scientists arrayed before her. "An alien civilization is dying. They sent a distress call. And we received it because they accidentally sent it toward us instead of whoever they were trying to reach." "That is correct," Dr. Amira Osei said. The astrophysicist pulled up a holographic display showing the Velkari system. "Their star is undergoing catastrophic collapse. Based on their data, they have maybe 6 or 7 months before the planet becomes uninhabitable." "And we are the only ones who got this message?" Chen asked. "As far as we can tell, yes. The signal was tightly focused. It was meant for a specific target, but the targeting was off. We just happened to be in the way." Admiral Howard, the head of Space Command, leaned forward. "Commander Chen, I need your honest assessment. Can we reach them?" Chen looked at the star chart. The Velkari system was 312 light-years away. Humanity's 3 FTL ships could make the journey in about 4 weeks if they pushed the engines hard. Very hard. Maybe too hard. "Technically, yes," Chen said slowly. "But, sir, we are talking about our entire fleet. All 3 ships. If something goes wrong out there, we would be stranded. And we do not know anything about the situation on the ground. We do not know how many people need evacuation, what kind of facilities they have, or even if they would want our help." "They sent a distress call," Dr. Osei said quietly. "I think it is clear they want help." "Help from someone," Chen countered. "We are talking about a civilization that is probably thousands of years more advanced than us. Our ships are barely past the prototype stage. What can we possibly do that they cannot do themselves?" The room fell silent. It was a good question. A reasonable question. Admiral Howard stood up. "I am going to tell you something, Commander. Something my grandfather told me. He was a firefighter, ran into burning buildings for 30 years. And he said the worst calls were the ones where they did not go, where they stood outside and decided it was too dangerous, too risky, too uncertain. He said those were the ones that haunted him." The Admiral looked around the room. "We have 3 ships. They are held together with spare parts and hope, but they can fly. We have crews crazy enough to volunteer. And we have an alien race that is going to die if someone does not help them. Now we can sit here and debate the politics and the risks and the unknowns. Or we can be the kind of species that shows up when someone calls for help." Chen felt something stir in her chest. It was crazy. It was dangerous. It violated every protocol in the book. "When do we leave?" she asked. "As soon as the ships can launch," Howard said. "I am putting you in command of the mission, Commander. Take our 3 ships. Take whatever crew and equipment you need. And bring those people home." Chen stood up. "Yes, sir." As she left the briefing room, Chen pulled out her communicator and called her chief engineer, Marcus Webb. "Marcus, how fast can you get the Endeavour ready for a long-range rescue mission?" "Depends," Marcus drawled. "How long is long range?" 312 light-years. There was a long pause. "Boss, that is going to void the warranty. I will add it to the list. Get the ship ready. We leave in 48 hours. "You got it. This is going to be interesting." Chen looked up at the stars through the window. Somewhere out there, an entire civilization was counting down its final days, not knowing that help was coming. Help from a species they did not know existed. Help that might not be enough, but it was coming anyway, because that was what humans did. The 3 human ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Velkari system with all the grace of a brick hitting water. Alarms blared on the Endeavor's bridge as various systems complained about the abuse they had just endured. "Engine temperature is in the red," Marcus Webb reported from the engineering station. "We pushed them way past recommended limits. Boss." Commander Sarah Chen ignored the protests from her console and focused on the main view screen. The Velkari sun dominated the display, pulsing with irregular bursts of red and orange light. Even from this distance, she could see it was dying badly. "Status of the other ships?" Chen asked. "Prometheus reports minor engine damage, but operational," Lieutenant Park said from communications. "Galileo says they are good to go. But Captain Yamada wants it on record that she is going to have words with whoever designed these engines." "Get in line," Marcus muttered. Chen allowed herself a small smile. They had made it. 4 weeks of pushing their experimental ships to the breaking point, rationing supplies, and praying the engines would not explode. But they were here. "Scan for the planet. Find me those people." The sensors swept the system. Within moments, they had located Velkar Prime, a beautiful blue world covered almost entirely in ocean. Cities glowed beneath the waves, massive structures built from what looked like living coral and bioluminescent materials. It was stunning. It was also being evacuated in the slowest possible way. "Are you seeing this?" Marcus said, pulling up a closer scan. "They are using some kind of gravity sleds to move people to orbital stations. But the capacity is tiny. Each sled carries maybe 100 people, and they are moving at a crawl." Chen did the math in her head. Billions of people, hundreds of sleds, limited time. "They are not going to make it, not even close." "Should we announce ourselves?" Park asked. "Do it. Full broadcast, all frequencies. Let them know help has arrived." The message went out in every radio format humans could produce. Chen had no idea if the Velkari would understand it, but at least they would know someone had heard their call. The response came faster than expected. A holographic image flickered to life above the communications console, showing a Velkari for the first time. The alien was vaguely humanoid but clearly aquatic, with smooth skin that shimmered with patterns of light, large eyes adapted for underwater vision, and delicate webbed hands. The translator struggled for a moment before establishing a connection. "Unknown vessels. This is scientist Velros of Velkar Prime. We did not expect anyone. Who are you?" Chen stepped forward. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Command. We received your distress call. We came to help." Velros's bioluminescent patterns flickered rapidly, which the translator interpreted as extreme surprise. "Earth? We have no record of Earth in any database. Are you with the Galactic Council?" "The what?" Chen asked, then shook her head. "Never mind. No, we are not with anyone. We just got your message and came as fast as we could. How many people need evacuation?" 4,700,000,000, Velros said quietly. "But our evacuation capacity is limited. We can save perhaps 1 billion, maybe less. The rest—" He did not finish the sentence. Chen felt the weight of that number settle on her shoulders. 4 billion people, 3 small human ships. It was impossible. "Commander," Marcus said quietly, pulling up schematics on his console. "I have been looking at their evacuation setup. It is terrible." "Marcus," Chen warned. "No, I mean it is really terrible. They are using precision equipment designed for careful, slow transport. It is completely inadequate for emergency evacuation." He grinned. "We can do better." "How?" "Remember that cargo hauling contract we did for the Mars colonies? Same principle, bigger scale. We strip out everything non-essential, weld together cargo containers, and pack people in tight. It will not be comfortable, but it will be fast." Chen looked at the display showing the Velkari evacuation efforts. Elegant, careful, and far too slow. Then she looked at her 3 beat-up human ships. "Velros," she said, "we are sending shuttles down. We are going to help you move people faster. A lot faster." "How much faster?" Velros asked cautiously. Marcus leaned into the frame. "How do you feel about cutting every safety regulation in half and ignoring the rest?" The translator hesitated, as if unsure how to interpret that question. 6 hours later, scientist Velros floated in what used to be a pristine docking bay and watched human engineers turn it into controlled chaos. They had brought down equipment that looked ancient compared to Velkari technology. Welding torches that used actual fire, metal plates that were literally bolted together, and tools that seemed designed by someone who had never heard of elegance. It was the most beautiful thing Velros had ever seen. "You are going to put 6,000 people in that?" Mara asked, pointing at the massive container the humans were assembling. It looked like a cargo box with seats welded to the walls. A human engineer, a woman named Rodriguez, looked up from her welding. 6,000 is the comfortable number. We can fit 8 if we squeeze. But the structural integrity is good enough, Rodriguez said cheerfully. Look, I know it does not look pretty, but this thing will hold together for the trip to orbit, and that is all that matters. We are not building art here. We are building lifeboats. Another human, a large man named Okoye, was teaching a group of Velkari how to operate the loading system. Forget the individual identity verification. Just count heads and move. Check IDs later. Every minute we waste on paperwork is a minute someone does not get off this rock. A Velkari official swam forward, his patterns flashing with agitation. This violates 17 different safety protocols. Sir, with respect, your planet is dying, Okoye said. You can follow the protocols and save 1 billion people, or you can break the rules and save 4 billion. Your choice. The official opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked at Velros. Do it, Velros said. All of it. Break whatever rules you need to break. The humans got to work in earnest. Over the next week, the Velkari watched in fascinated horror as humans turned their careful evacuation into what Marcus Webb called organized chaos. The humans worked in shifts, sleeping in 4-hour bursts before diving back in. They ignored safety warnings, jury-rigged solutions to problems that Velkari engineers said required weeks of careful study, and solved complex issues with approaches that made no logical sense but somehow worked anyway. When a loading crane broke down, a human named Chen, no relation to the commander, simply attached rockets to the cargo containers and launched them manually. When Velkari computers said a shuttle was too damaged to fly, human pilots flew it anyway and declared it perfectly fine. When the orbital stations ran out of space, the humans started daisy-chaining cargo containers together in orbit and calling them temporary hotels. This should not work, Mara told Velros, as they watched another impossible human solution succeed. None of this should work according to any engineering principle I understand. But it does work, Velros said. That is what matters. Commander Chen stood on the bridge of the Endeavor, reviewing the numbers. In 1 week, using methods that horrified every Velkari engineer, the humans had moved more people than the Velkari had managed in 3 months. The massive cargo containers were filling the orbital space around the planet, each one packed with refugees who were alive because humans did not care about following the rules. Prometheus reports their cargo bay is full, Park said. Captain Okonkwo is requesting permission to weld more containers to the hull. Tell him to make sure they are secure and do it, Chen said. Marcus looked up from his engineering console. Boss, we are way past the legal passenger limits. Are the ships going to hold together? Probably. Good enough. Keep loading. On the surface of Velkar Prime, the sun continued its death spiral, But now, for the first time, the Velkari had hope. The strange aliens from nowhere, flying ships that looked like they were held together with good intentions and metal tape, were actually going to save them. Scientist Velros floated in the command center, watching the evacuation numbers climb higher and higher. They were going to make it. Against all probability, they were going to save everyone. "Who are these humans?" Mara asked quietly. Velros watched another cargo container launch toward orbit, packed with 8,000 of his people. "I do not know, but I am very glad they got our message instead of whoever we were trying to call." In orbit, Commander Chen looked at the growing fleet of makeshift habitats and cargo containers surrounding her ships. It was ugly, chaotic, and completely against every regulation she had ever learned. It was also going to save 4 billion lives. "Commander," Park said, "we are getting a new signal, long range. It is..." "Ma'am, it is a Galactic Council rescue fleet. They just received the original distress call. They are on their way." "When will they arrive?" 3 weeks. Chen looked at the evacuation status. At their current pace, they would have everyone off the planet in 2 weeks. "Let them come," she said. "By the time they get here, we will be done." Marcus grinned. "Should we leave them a note?" "Definitely. Something polite." "How about, 'Thanks for nothing. Better luck next time'?" Chen smiled. "How about evacuation complete? Humans were here." The bridge crew laughed, and they got back to work. There were still billions of people to save, and humans had never been good at following someone else's schedule. Commander Thexus of the Arconian Star Guard stood on the bridge of the Council rescue vessel, Eternal Vigilance, and stared at the sensor readings with growing disbelief. This was impossible. Completely, utterly impossible. "Run the scan again," he commanded, his crystalline voice echoing through the quiet bridge. "There must be an error." "Scans confirm, Commander," his sensor officer replied. "The planet has been evacuated, completely. The distress beacon is still active, but there are no life signs remaining on the surface. All population has been moved to orbital structures." Thexus had been responding to emergency calls for 3 centuries. He had seen disasters, catastrophes, and tragedies beyond counting. He had led 47 successful evacuation missions, each one planned with meticulous care over months of preparation. This should have been number 48, except someone had already finished the job. "Show me these orbital structures," Thexus said. The view screen flickered to life, and Thexus felt his dignified composure crack. The space around Velkar Prime looked like a junkyard had collided with a refugee camp. Hundreds of crude metal containers were chained together in loose formations, connected by what appeared to be simple docking tubes. Smaller vessels that barely qualified as spacecraft moved between them. And in the center of this chaos sat 3 ships that looked like they had been assembled by a species that had just discovered metallurgy. "What am I looking at?" Thexus whispered. "Unknown vessels, unknown design," his tactical officer reported. "Energy signatures are extremely primitive. Their faster-than-light drives are generating dangerous levels of radiation. The entire setup violates approximately 340 Council safety regulations." "And they evacuated 4 billion people in 3 weeks, Thexus said quietly. He had planned to evacuate perhaps 1.8 billion using the Council's entire rescue fleet over the course of 2 months. It would have been a tragic compromise, but the best that could be done safely. Whoever these people were, they had done the impossible. "Hail them," Thexus ordered. "I want answers." The communications officer worked her console. After a moment, a holographic image appeared. It showed a bipedal alien with strange, smooth skin, wearing a dark uniform with incomprehensible markings. The being looked tired, but alert. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Command. You must be the Galactic Council Rescue Fleet. You are a bit late. Thexis drew himself up to his full height. I am Commander Thexis of the Arconian Star Guard representing the Galactic Council. We received a distress call from this system and came as quickly as protocols allowed. I must ask, who are you, and by what authority did you intervene in this situation? The human female looked at him with an expression he could not read. Authority? We got a distress call. We came and helped. I did not realize we needed permission to save people. You do not understand, Thexis said, trying to maintain his patience. The Galactic Council has established procedures for first contact situations and emergency response operations. There are protocols that must be followed, safety regulations that ensure— With respect, Commander, Chen interrupted. We did not have time for protocols. The planet was dying. We had ships. We came and got the people off. That is the entire story. Yes. And how many casualties resulted from your reckless approach? Thexis asked. Surely cutting corners as you obviously did must have led to significant loss of life. Chen's expression hardened. 0 casualties. Everyone is alive and accounted for. Can your protocols say the same? The bridge of the eternal vigilance fell silent. Thexis felt a strange emotion stirring in his chest. It took him a moment to recognize it as shame. Because Chen was right. The Council fleet would have saved less than half the population. They would have followed every protocol, filed every form correctly, and let 2 billion people die safely. I must inspect these orbital habitats, Thexis said, changing the subject. They clearly do not meet Council safety standards. Feel free, Chen said. But be advised, there are 4 billion Velkari living in those habitats right now, and they are all pretty happy to be alive. If you want to tell them their homes are not up to code, you go right ahead. The communication ended. Thexis ordered an inspection team prepared. 2 hours later, Thexis floated in one of the human-built habitats, wearing an environmental suit, and wished he had stayed on his ship. The structure was a nightmare of improvised engineering. Metal plates were welded together with visible seams. Life support systems were cobbled together from a dozen different technologies. The gravity generators were so poorly balanced that he could feel the variations as he moved through the space. It was also packed with Velkari refugees who were very much alive. A Velkari female swam up to him, her bioluminescent patterns showing curiosity. Are you with the Council? I am Commander Thexis, yes, he replied, the translator converting his words. Then you are the ones we tried to call for help, she said. Her patterns shifted to something the translator interpreted as wry amusement. You are very late. The message was missent, Thexis explained. It took time for the signal to reach us properly. We came as soon as we received it. The humans came faster, she said simply. They saved us all. But surely you see that these conditions are inadequate, Thexis said, gesturing at the crude walls. This habitat violates numerous safety codes. We can provide you with proper facilities, built to Council specifications. The Velkari's patterns flickered. This habitat is ugly and crude. It is also the reason I am alive. My family is alive. Everyone I know is alive. The humans did not care about making things perfect. They cared about making things fast. I will take fast over perfect any day. Before Thexis could respond, a human floated past, towing a box of supplies. The human male stopped when he saw Thexis. Hey, you are with the Council fleet, right? The human said. His name tag read Webb. I am, Thexis said cautiously. Great. You can help us with the food synthesizers. We have been running them 24/7, and they are starting to get cranky. Your technology is probably better than ours. Help you? Thexis repeated. Yeah. We could really use the assist. We have got 4 billion people to feed, and our equipment is not exactly top of the line. Webb grinned. Unless you guys are too busy inspecting things to actually help. The comment struck deeper than the human probably intended. Thexis looked around at the crude habitat full of living, breathing people who should have been dead. Then he looked at Webb, this representative of a species not even in the Council database. who was asking for help feeding refugees as if it was the most natural thing in the world. "Yes," Thexis said slowly. "We can help with that. I will have my supply officers coordinate with your team." "Awesome," Webb said. "Appreciate it, Commander." The human floated away, already talking into his communicator about technical specifications. Thexis watched him go and realized something important. The humans had not come here to make friends or establish diplomatic relations or follow proper procedures. They had come here to save people, nothing more and nothing less. It made the Council's careful protocols seem suddenly hollow. Back on the Eternal Vigilance, Thexis called a meeting of his senior staff. On the view screen, he displayed the human ships and their makeshift orbital habitats. "Initial assessment?" he asked. His chief engineer spoke first. "The human technology is crude but effective. Their faster-than-light drives are dangerous and inefficient but functional. Their construction methods ignore all safety margins, but the structures are holding. It is as if they built everything with the absolute minimum required to work and nothing more." "Because they did not have time for more," Thexis said quietly. "Their approach is completely contrary to Council methodology," his political officer added. "They act first and consider consequences later. They ignore established protocols. They take risks that no responsible species would take. And somehow it worked. Commander, if word of this spreads through the Council, it could cause significant disruption. Younger species might see the humans as an alternative model." "Should we suppress the information?" the tactical officer asked. Thexis thought about that for a long moment. The Council had been operating the same way for 50,000 years. Careful, measured, risk-averse. It had built a stable galactic civilization where wars were rare and catastrophes were managed efficiently. But it had also built a civilization where 2 billion people dying in an evacuation was considered an acceptable compromise. "No," Thexis said finally. "We report exactly what happened here. The Council needs to see this." "Sir, with respect, this could damage your career," his political officer warned. "Arriving late to a crisis you were meant to handle, showing up after unknown aliens already solved the problem." "I am aware," Thexis interrupted. "But I am not going to lie about what these humans accomplished. File the report and include a recommendation that we open formal contact with Earth immediately. These humans are going to change everything whether we like it or not." On the Endeavor, Commander Chen was reviewing supply manifests when Lieutenant Park called her to the bridge. "Ma'am, the Council fleet is requesting a formal meeting. Commander Thexis wants to discuss diplomatic relations." "Tell him I will meet tomorrow," Chen said. "Right now, I am trying to figure out if we have enough food synthesizers to feed everyone until the Council can take over the relief effort. He also wants to discuss Earth joining the Galactic Council." That got Chen's attention. She looked up from her reports. "Join? As in become members?" "That is what he said." Chen thought about that. Humanity had just learned aliens existed 3 weeks ago. Now they were being invited to join some kind of galactic government. It was too fast, too sudden. On the other hand, the Velkari needed long-term help that 3 human ships could not provide. If joining this council meant securing that help, maybe it was worth considering. "Set up the meeting," Chen said. "But make it clear we are here for the Velkari first. Diplomacy comes second." "Yes, ma'am." Chen looked out at the stars. Humanity had come to this system to answer a distress call. Somehow they had stumbled into galactic politics. It was typical human luck. But as she looked at the readouts showing 4 billion living Velkari, she decided it was worth it. They had done something impossible. They had saved everyone. Now they just had to figure out what came next. The Galactic Council Chamber was the most impressive structure Commander Sarah Chen had ever seen. It floated in neutral space. A massive station built from crystalline materials that seemed to shift colors with the light. Inside, representatives from hundreds of species gathered in a circular chamber that used gravity manipulation to let everyone orient themselves comfortably regardless of their physiology. Chen stood, or floated, the gravity here was confusing, in the center of the chamber as a human representative to the council for the first time. Beside her were Captain Okonkwo from the Prometheus and Captain Yamada from the Galileo. Behind them, in the observer section, stood scientist Velros and a delegation of Velkari refugees. "This council recognizes the human delegation," announced the Arbiter, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline shell. "We have reviewed the reports from the Velkar Prime incident. Commander Chen, you and your species have accomplished something unprecedented." "We answered a distress call," Chen said simply. "Nothing more." "Nothing more?" A reptilian delegate rose from his seat. "You violated every established first contact protocol. You endangered your own people with reckless use of untested technology. You built habitats that would fail any safety inspection. And yet—" He paused, and Chen could not tell if his expression was anger or respect. "You saved them all. Every single one." "That was the goal, yes," Chen said. "The goal of any rescue should be to minimize casualties while maintaining operational safety," another delegate said. This one was insectoid, with a clicking voice. "You achieved maximum success with maximum risk. It is mathematically unlikely. Some of us wonder if your reports are exaggerated." Chen felt her temper rising but kept her voice level. "Are you calling me a liar?" "We are questioning the methodology," the insectoid delegate replied. "No species could accomplish what you claim without significant loss of life. The risks you took were unconscionable." "Then come look at the Velkari," Chen said, gesturing to Velros. "Count them. All 4.7 billion. They are alive because we took those risks." A long silence fell over the chamber. Finally, Velros swam forward in his gravity field. His bioluminescent patterns pulsed with strong emotion. "If I may speak," Velros said, "I sent the distress call. I miscalculated the trajectory and it reached Earth instead of this council. When the humans arrived, I thought we would save perhaps a quarter of our population. Their ships looked primitive. Their methods seemed insane. But they worked harder than any being I have ever seen. They ignored our protests about safety. They told us to trust them. And they saved us. All of us." "At what cost?" another delegate asked. "How many humans died in this effort?" "None," Chen said. "We had injuries, lots of them. Burns, broken bones, exhaustion. But everyone went home." The chamber erupted in chittering, clicking, and various sounds of disbelief. The Arbiter called for order. "If what you say is true," the Arbiter said, "then humanity has demonstrated capabilities that challenge our understanding of emergency response. The question before this council is what to do about it. We invite Earth to join the Galactic Council as a probationary member," Commander Thexus said, standing up. "They have proven themselves capable of operating at an interstellar level. They have proven themselves capable of chaos," another voice countered. This delegate was vaguely humanoid, but with skin like polished metal. "Do we want to introduce a species that ignores safety regulations into our carefully balanced civilization? What happens when their recklessness causes a disaster instead of preventing one? What happens when the next crisis comes, and we are still debating the proper response while people die?" Thexus shot back. "The humans showed us something we have forgotten. Sometimes speed matters more than procedure." "That is a dangerous philosophy," the metallic delegate said. "Is it?" Velros spoke again. "If the Council fleet had arrived first following all your protocols, how many of my people would be alive right now?" The question hung in the air. Nobody answered. "I thought so," Velros said. "The humans saved us because they did not know they were supposed to fail. They did not know it was impossible. They just did it anyway." The Arbiter's energy field pulsed thoughtfully. The Council will vote on the question of human membership. But first, Commander Chen, you must understand what you are requesting. Joining the Council means following Council law. It means accepting oversight. It means your species will be monitored and mentored. Are you prepared for that? Chen glanced at her fellow captains. They had discussed this on the flight to the Council station. Humanity was stepping onto a galactic stage they did not fully understand. The smart move might be to decline, to go home and stay isolated a bit longer. But Chen thought about the Velkari, packed into crude habitats that would have never existed if humans had worried too much about following rules. "We will join," Chen said, "on one condition." The chamber went silent. Making demands of the Council was apparently not common. "State your condition," the Arbiter said. "When the next distress call comes, you do not make us wait for approval to respond. If someone needs help, we help. We will follow your laws, attend your meetings, and play nice with the bureaucracy. But we do not stand around debating while people die." "That is not how the Council operates," the metallic delegate objected. "We have procedures for emergency response. Committees must evaluate—" "No," Chen interrupted. "That is the deal. We are happy to learn from you. We know we have a lot to learn, but we will not learn to be slow when speed is what matters." The Arbiter was quiet for a long moment. "You ask us to change 50,000 years of established protocol. I am asking you to remember what those protocols were for," Chen said. "They were meant to save lives. If they are not doing that anymore, maybe it is time to update them." The chamber erupted in argument. Species debated across every frequency of communication. Chen stood in the center of it all and waited. Finally, the Arbiter called for order. "We will vote, first, on whether to accept humanity as a probationary member of the Galactic Council. Second, on whether to grant them special dispensation for emergency response." The vote took 3 hours. Species argued, debated, and consulted. Chen used the time to review messages from Earth. The governments back home were both excited and terrified about potential Council membership. Admiral Howard sent a simple message: "Trust your gut." When the voting finished, the Arbiter spoke. "The Council has decided. Earth is accepted as a probationary member, with full rights and responsibilities. Regarding emergency response—" The Arbiter paused. "A compromise has been reached. Humans may respond to distress calls immediately, but must report to a Council liaison within 24 hours. The liaison will provide guidance but cannot countermand human actions if lives are at immediate risk. This arrangement will be reviewed annually." Chen let out a breath she had not known she was holding. It was not everything she had wanted, but it was enough. "We accept," she said. "Then welcome to the Galactic Council, humanity," the Arbiter said. "May you bring us wisdom, or at least some excitement," Captain Yamada muttered behind her. The formal ceremony continued for another hour, but Chen's attention drifted. She was thinking about what came next. Earth would need to build more ships, train more crews, and figure out how to operate in a galaxy full of species with thousands of years more experience. But they would figure it out. Humans always did. After the ceremony, Chen found Velros waiting outside the chamber. "Commander," Velros said, his patterns showing warmth. "Thank you. For everything." "You already thanked us," Chen said, "about 100 times. Then this is number 101. My people are alive because you came. We will not forget that." "What will you do now?" Chen asked. "The Council is offering resettlement options, right?" "They are," Velros confirmed. "Several member worlds have offered to host us. They are all very nice." He paused. "But some of us were wondering, does Earth have any oceans?" Chen smiled. "A few. Why?" "My people are interested in settling somewhere near humans. You saved us. We want to know you better. And Velros's patterns shifted to something that might have been humor. "We want to see what else you do that is supposed to be impossible." "That can probably be arranged," Chen said. "I will talk to our government, but I warn you, Earth is not exactly an advanced civilization. We are going to make mistakes." "So will we," Velros said, "but we will make them together." 3 months later, the first permanent Velkari settlement was established on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. The Velkari brought their expertise in biotechnology and water management. In exchange, humans taught them the fine art of improvising solutions and not overthinking problems. Chen was back on Earth, sitting in Admiral Howard's office and reviewing reports of humanity's first few months as a council member. "We have requests for aid from 6 different systems," Howard said. "Minor crises. Nothing like Velkar Prime. But they specifically requested human response teams." "Why?" Chen asked. "Because word has spread. The species that does the impossible. The ones who show up when everyone else is still planning." Howard leaned back in his chair. "We are becoming famous, Sarah. Or infamous. I am not sure which." "How are the council members reacting?" "Mixed. The older species think we are dangerous. The younger ones think we are exciting. A few species have started copying our methods. There was an incident last week where a Trill rescue team pulled a human and jury-rigged a solution that violated 14 safety codes but saved 300 lives. Chen laughed. "We are corrupting them. Or teaching them," Howard said. "The council is changing, slowly, but it is happening. They are asking questions they have not asked in centuries. Questions like, why do we do it this way? And, is there a faster method? And they blame us? Some do. Others thank us." Howard pulled up a message on his screen. "This came from Commander Thexus. He has been reassigned to head a new council task force on emergency response optimization. He wants to consult with humans on best practices." "Best practices?" Chen said. "We make it up as we go." "Exactly. And apparently that is exactly what the council needs to learn." Chen looked out the window at the Earth below. Her planet had joined a galactic civilization that was ancient beyond measure. They were the newest, least advanced, most reckless members of an organization that valued careful planning above all else. They were also the members everyone called when something needed to get done fast. "What is our next mission?" Chen asked. Howard smiled. "There is a cargo ship stranded in the Theta Quadrant. Engine failure. The Council fleet can reach them in 2 weeks. How fast can we get there?" Chen thought about it. The Endeavor had been upgraded with some Velkari biotechnology and a few Council improvements. They were still using human engines, though, still flying by the seat of their pants. 5 days, she said. "Maybe 4 if we push it." "Then go," Howard said. "And Sarah? Try not to give the Council a heart attack this time." "No promises, sir." Chen left the office and headed for the spaceport. She had a ship to prep and a rescue to plan. Somewhere in the Theta Quadrant, people needed help. And humans were very, very good at helping. 2 years after the Velkar Prime rescue, Commander Sarah Chen sat in the Galactic Council Emergency Response Center and watched the debate with growing frustration. On the central display, a mining colony in the Kresh system was suffering from a cascade failure in their life support systems. They had maybe 48 hours before the air became toxic. The council representatives had been debating the response for 3 hours. "We need to consider the political implications," a Benatar representative was saying. "The Kresh system is in disputed territory. If we send a fleet, it could be seen as taking sides in the border negotiations." "So we let 8,000 miners die because of politics?" Chen said, not for the first time. "We are not suggesting we do nothing," the Benatar replied coldly. "We are suggesting we follow proper diplomatic channels first. Perhaps if we contact both governments—" "That will take days," Chen interrupted. "They have hours." "Commander Chen, you must understand. the Arbiter said patiently. "The Council operates on principles that have maintained galactic peace for millennia. We cannot simply charge into every situation without considering the broader consequences." Chen had heard variations of this speech dozens of times over the past 2 years. The Council was not bad. They genuinely wanted to help. They were just slow, incredibly, maddeningly slow. "Fine," Chen said, standing up. "You all keep debating. I am sending the Endeavor." "You cannot do that without Council approval," the Benatar objected. "Watch me," Chen said, and walked out. Behind her, she heard the Arbiter's resigned sigh. "Let her go. The humans will file the proper reports afterward. They always do, eventually." On board the Endeavor, Marcus Webb had already started prepping the engines. He looked up when Chen stormed onto the bridge. "Bad meeting?" he asked. "They want to think about it for 3 more days," Chen said. "Get us moving. Best speed to crash." "On it, boss. You know we are going to get yelled at again." "Add it to the list." The Endeavor broke orbit from the Council station and jumped to faster-than-light speeds. Behind them, 3 other human vessels did the same. Over 2 years, Earth had built a small but growing fleet, and every captain knew the drill. When Chen moved, they moved. The trip to Kresh took 30 hours of hard flying. When they arrived, Chen was not surprised to find the situation worse than reported. The mining colony was not just having life support problems. Half the facility was on fire. "How does that even happen?" Lieutenant Park asked. "Badly," Marcus said. "Real badly." Chen opened communications with the colony. A Kresh administrator appeared on screen, their 4 eyes wide with panic. "Please, you must help us. The fire is spreading and our evacuation shuttles are not working. We have families here, children." "We are here to help," Chen said calmly. "How many people total?" 8,400. "But we cannot get them off the station. The docking ports are compromised." "Then we will make new doors," Chen said. "Marcus, can we cut through their hull?" "Can we?" "Absolutely." "Should we?" "Probably not." "Will we anyway?" "You bet." 20 minutes later, human engineers were cutting holes directly through the mining station's hull and attaching flexible docking tubes. It was crude, dangerous, and absolutely not approved by any safety manual in the galaxy. It also worked. "Move everyone to the southern sections," Chen instructed the colony administrator. "We will pull people out as fast as we can. Priority to the injured and young." "But the fire?" "My people will handle it. You just get your people to the extraction points." Chen switched channels. "Captain Okonkwo, you are on firefighting duty." Okonkwo's voice came back cheerful as always. "Did someone say we get to play with fire? On it." The Prometheus deployed teams with fire suppression equipment that was technically designed for ship fires, but worked just as well on station fires if you did not worry too much about the difference. Meanwhile, the Endeavor and the other ships began pulling colonists out through the improvised docking ports. "This is insane," one of the Kresh engineers said as he watched humans cut another hole in his station. "You are destroying the structural integrity." "Your station is already on fire," a human engineer pointed out. "I think the structural integrity was already compromised." "Yes, but look, buddy, we can stand here and debate engineering principles, or we can get your people out." "Your choice." The engineer chose wisely and got out of the way. 6 hours later, the last colonist was pulled off the burning station. The human ships, now packed well beyond their official capacity, began moving the refugees to a nearby council outpost. That was when the council fleet arrived. Commander Thexus appeared on Chen's view screen, and she could not quite read his expression. "Commander Chen," he said, "you left the emergency session." "People were dying," Chen said. "We did not have time for debate." "I am aware. I am also aware that you once again violated approximately 60 council regulations, including cutting holes in a private mining facility without authorization." "The owner gave us permission," Chen said, "after you had already started cutting." "Details," Thexus was quiet for a moment. Then, surprisingly, he smiled. It was a small expression on his crystalline features, but it was there. "The Council is very frustrated with you," he said. "They want me to reprimand you formally." "Are you going to?" "I am required to, yes. Consider yourself formally reprimanded." He paused. "Informally, well done. You saved them all again." "It is kind of our thing," Chen said. "Yes, it is. And that is causing quite a stir in the Council. There is a growing movement, particularly among younger species, to reform our emergency response procedures. They are calling it the human doctrine." "The what?" "Act fast, improvise solutions, ignore regulations that slow you down, and save everyone you possibly can. It goes against 50,000 years of Council tradition." Thexus's smile widened slightly. "It is also producing better results than our traditional methods. The Council does not know what to do with you." "We are not trying to cause trouble," Chen said. "I know. That makes it worse somehow. You genuinely believe this is just normal behavior." "It is," Chen said, confused. "When someone needs help, you help them. How is that complicated?" "It is not complicated. It is just not how the galaxy has operated for a very long time. You are reminding us of something we forgot." "What is that?" "That rules exist to serve people, not the other way around." After the call ended, Marcus came over to Chen's station. "So, we are starting a revolution?" he asked. "Apparently," Chen said. "Though I am not sure how you start a revolution by just doing the obvious thing." "That is the best kind of revolution," Marcus said. "The kind where you just keep being yourself until everyone else realizes they have been doing it wrong." Back on Earth, the Velkari settlement on Europa had grown into a thriving community. Velros, now officially Earth's liaison to the Velkari people, stood in his office and watched the human children playing with young Velkari in the underwater sections of the colony. "It is strange," Mara said, swimming up beside him. 2 years ago, we were a dying race. Now we are helping humans build underwater cities and teaching them our biotechnology." "They gave us life," Velros said. "This is the least we can do." "It is more than that, though," Mara said. "Look at what they are doing to the galaxy. Species that have not spoken to each other in centuries are suddenly cooperating on rescue missions. The Council is actually debating reforms. All because humans showed up and did not know they were supposed to be afraid." "They are special," Velros agreed. "But not because they are advanced or powerful. They are special because they care more about doing the right thing than doing the safe thing." "Do you think they will change?" Mara asked. "As they learn more about the galaxy, as they gain more technology, will they become like the rest of the Council? Careful and slow?" Velros thought about Commander Chen, who had walked out of a council meeting because it was taking too long. He thought about Marcus Webb, who treated safety regulations as suggestions. He thought about the entire human species, who had risked their entire fleet to save strangers because it was the right thing to do. "No," Velros said. "I do not think they will change. The galaxy will change first." On the council station, the Arbiter was reviewing reports from the Kresh rescue when a junior aide brought disturbing news. "Sir, we have detected another distress call. A passenger ship with engine failure in the Vortan Nebula. They have approximately 36 hours of life support remaining." "Assemble the emergency council," the Arbiter said. "We need to plan a response." "Sir, the humans have already departed. They picked up the signal and launched immediately." The Arbiter was silent for a long moment. "Of course they did. When will they arrive?" "At their current speed, approximately 28 hours. "And when can our fleet arrive?" 48 hours, sir." The Arbiter felt something strange. It took a moment to identify the emotion. It was relief. Relief that the humans would get there first. Relief that the passengers would be saved. Relief that someone in this galaxy still remembered that speed mattered. "Cancel the emergency council meeting," the Arbiter said. "Send a support fleet to assist the humans with the rescue. We will learn by watching." "Sir, many council members will object to—" "Let them object," the Arbiter said. "Times are changing. We can either change with them or become irrelevant." Aboard the Endeavor, racing through space toward another emergency, Commander Sarah Chen reviewed the passenger ship's specifications and planned the rescue operation. It would be tight. They would need to improvise. There would be risks. In other words, it was just another day. "How are we looking, Marcus?" she asked. "Engines are good. We will get there with hours to spare. Though I would not want to try this trip again anytime soon. We are pushing everything to the limit." "We always do," Chen said. "That is our other thing. We should get t-shirts made. Humans, we do impossible things before breakfast." "I like it. Add it to the list." Lieutenant Park called from communications. "Commander, we are getting messages from all over the sector. Other species are offering to help with the rescue. They are asking if they can join us." "Tell them yes," Chen said. "Anyone who can get there in time is welcome. The more help, the better." As the Endeavor flew through the stars, Chen thought about the past 2 years. Humanity had joined a galactic civilization, expecting to learn from species thousands of years more advanced. And they had learned a lot. The Council had taught them about physics, history, culture, and technology. But humanity had taught the Council something too. They had taught them that sometimes the old ways were not the best ways, that sometimes you had to break the rules to do the right thing, that sometimes speed and courage mattered more than careful planning. And most importantly, they had taught the galaxy that when someone sent an SOS, you answered it. No matter who you were, no matter where the signal came from, no matter what the regulations said, you just showed up. Because that was what good people did. Human or alien, young species or ancient civilization, it did not matter. When someone needed help, you helped. The galaxy was slowly remembering that lesson, and Earth was happy to keep teaching it, one rescue at a time. The passenger ship appeared on sensors. They were in bad shape, but they were holding together. The Endeavor moved into position. "All right, people," Chen said to her crew. "Let us go save some lives. You know the drill." "Break all the rules and hope nothing explodes?" Marcus asked. "That is the one," Chen confirmed. "Let us get to work." And they did. Because that was what humans did best. They showed up.